Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Case IH. Solutions for every challenge. Equipment for every farm. Case IH, built by farmers.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us here for This Week in Agribusiness. I'm Mike Pearson. The government shutdown means we're not getting our usual crop production reports from the USDA, so we're going out into the field to see just what production looks like. Joining us this morning is Jeremy Leninger. He's a sales manager for Nutrien Ag Solution. He joins us for this Agronomy for Your Acres. And Jeremy, how are things looking there in Central Illinois?
We're making way every day on harvest. We're getting closer. I'd say we're probably somewhere around that 75 to 80% right now. A lot of beans have been taken off, and guys are kind of turning their focus towards double crops right now. So things are shaping up about the way that we expected them to, unfortunately, with too much rain and then the lack of rain. So yields have been not very good in our area.
Oh, that's tough to hear. Jeremy, are growers starting to look ahead already to the 2026 season?
Yeah, I think we have to. I think guys are taking a look at what type of crops and bushels they pulled off the fields, taking into account the fertilizer prices that we have right now that aren't desirable, and trying to do the smartest thing they can with their money and spend it wisely.
That's a huge question. Jeremy, how do growers figure out what the smartest course of action is in an ag economy like we're in right now?
Well, I think we need to make sure that we have what we need out there for the crop that we're going to try to grow in 26. I know guys aren't going to be wanting to put a surplus out there, which is also smart once we, look at the stat tool and realize that we have a really hard time holding things like potassium specifically. And so, we want to make really smart decisions about what we're actually putting on that field and not give it too much or not enough out there.
Oh, that's a really good point. As we look out to 2026, it seems like growers are going to face another year, Jeremy, where they have to balance those really high input costs with production. And what do you advise growers? How do they weigh that out to make a good decision?
Well, I think we need to look at soil tests. I think that those are crucial because just like a human being, it's like a blood test for us. If we don't have a soil test, we don't exactly know what's out there to try to make a smart decision for as far as what we need to go put out there on that field.
Soil testing would be one way. Are there any other agronomic advice you'd have for growers, especially this time of year as they're coming out of the combines?
Yeah, I would say that we need to monitor it throughout the year too. If you go take a blood test on yourself, and you try to address the issues that you have, you're going to go back and continually check it. Well, once we do that, using whether it be sap sampling or whether it be tissue sampling throughout the year to make sure that we're not cutting that crop short of anything that it needs.
That makes a lot of sense. That is crucial here as we look to farm finances in 2026. Jeremy, any other advice for growers here wrapping up harvest in 2025?
Yes, I would absolutely work closely with your trusted advisor, whoever that may be on your farm. We need to work smart with this year, especially because I understand that it's an extremely fine line this year with fertilizer prices being extremely high and commodity prices obviously not being very favorable right now. So we need to have best dollar spent, and that's where we need to address things.
That is so true. Jeremy, if we've got folks who want to learn more about what's available at Nutrien, where would you send them for information?
Go talk to your local crop consultant. Get online. There's a lot of resources on Leveling Products website, and they can point you in the direction, if you're not working with a Nutrien already, to your closest Nutrien Ag Solutions.
Jeremy Leninger, Sales Manager with Nutrien Ag Solutions, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Our market update this week is brought to you by Farm Futures. Keep up with these volatile commodity markets at farmfutures.com. To help us dive into the movements this week in the commodity markets is Chris Robinson of Robinson Ag Marketing. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Hey, good to be here. Thank you.
Let's talk about this corn market. We don't have any export sales reports coming out from the USDA, but the impression still is that foreign countries are buying our corn. Is that right?
Yeah, exports have been surprisingly strong really for 3 or 4 months, all year. Even with the government shutdown, we can still see kind of what's moving. But yeah, it's not surprising to see because corn's been sitting here at $4.20 for a while. We've seen good purchases coming from Mexico consistently. Of course, not enough, right? The problem is we've got a big supply and we've got we're looking at ahead when harvest gets done at a big carryout, and I think that's the market's still grappling with that.
Chris, you talked to farmers all across the country. We heard as combine started to roll that maybe these corn yields just weren't there. Maybe they were lower than we anticipated. Is that weighing on the market at all?
Not really. I mean, you always hear about the bad stories, right? The guys that have had good crops don't say anything. There are parts of Iowa that I talked to guys where yields were surprisingly low, parts of Nebraska where it was 30 or 40 lower, but that has to weigh against, the last USDA report we got where they came out with 200,000 extra acres. Yeah, they lowered the yield a little bit, but that acres, and people will argue about it all day long. I understand it. We'll know at January because at the end of the day, there's no politician, there's no analyst, there's no expert, there's no commercial grain company that's going to magically adjust what's actually out there. The market will figure it out. The price will figure it out. And you're starting to see that. I think that's one reason we've been kind of hanging here in this trading range because once we really get the real numbers, when that harvest is over, I'm looking forward to, hopefully by January, the government will be reopened. That January report is probably going to be a potential. People always look at those reports as negative. It could be positive.
Absolutely. Now, as you mentioned, we've been stagnant here. Corn's been trading sideways for some time. For folks looking out long term, are you starting to think about 2026 sales at all?
Yeah, if you look at 2026, that chart, if we get, I think, north of 465, 470, you haven't had a lot to work with. Obviously, even this year in corn, we had an 87-cent range. If I had told you last year that we were going to top out in February 14th, I think you would have put me in a straitjacket. We never got back to 470, which was the high of the year was 479. The spring insurance price was 470. We're coming up now on the fall insurance price, which looks like it's going to be about 419, 417. Mm-hmm. That's going to impact some guys, whether or not they're going to get a check. Of course, if you had a big yield and you meet your revenue, you might not get a check. But yeah, for looking for 2026, that would be my starting point where I might get interested in doing something is anything north of 465, 470.
Okay.
And then again, we're always hopeful that something happens and we get back up into the fives.
We're also always hopeful that some of the other markets will start to move along with us. I know on the corn side, we've been watching wheat. Wheat has been on that downtrend trend for 6 months, 9 months now. $5 in Chicago. Is that a bottom? Seems like it might be.
It's a 5-year low. The wheat has just been really decimated for really 3 years. I mean, it's just been since the 2022 highs. It's been lower. It's been very, very difficult. I can't see wheat really turning until we get something going on with corn. That's just my opinion. Okay. I think corn is going to be the leader. And people say, well, if I'm storing it, what's the risk? There's still, believe it or not, there's 50 cents to $1 risk. I know that sounds crazy. All that is going back and looking at the old prices. Mm-hmm. And the same way in 2022 when we were going higher, well, where's corn going to stop? It was old highs. Yeah. Now people start looking, okay, where are the old lows? And you start to see some buyers come in, and exports have been excellent for wheat, and why not? They're at 5-year lows.
Sure.
I do work with the end users, people, bakeries and guys like that. They're looking at this as like a golden opportunity to take coverage because, if we do get a dollar rally,
right.
Right now, nobody wants calls. I would say this: if you're going to store it, keep a cheap put under it. If you're forced to sell down here, or you just throw the towel in, I would absolutely positively look at going out and buying something in the future in case we get a turnaround.
Re-ownership.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back with more with Chris Robinson of Robinson Ag Marketing. Our market update is brought to you by Farm Futures. Keep up with these volatile commodity markets at farmfutures.com. Joining us this week to break out what's happening in the commodity markets is Chris Robinson of Robinson Ag Marketing. Chris, we talked through corn and wheat in the first segment. Let's talk soybeans. We don't have government reports. We don't know from the CFTC what managed money is doing. But what's your sense here in the soybean trade?
Well, I think outside of what the government information is, we think that they're probably long about 10 or 15,000 contracts of beans. Not a lot. Why are they doing that? Well, they're anticipating, I think, a possible China deal like everybody else. They also get very involved around the 100 and 200-day moving average. When we don't have a fundamental story, we don't have a weather story or demand story, we start trading these charts. And I've been doing it for 30 years. I hate it, but it does matter. And if you look right now where beans are, this 1035, 1040 level, we're right above the 200-day moving average. We'll see. Another thing, why have we been hovering around 1023? Well, you take the high of the year and the low of the year. and we're right in the middle.
Oh, wow.
So as depressing as you might be getting when you listen to what's going on television, if you actually pull back and look what's going on, we're actually surprisingly in pretty good shape. I think a lot of people were concerned that we would have gone back down. Got to remember, we were down at 971 in March. We never get, and people were like, oh my goodness, we're going to really go a lot lower. So to be sitting here at 1050, that's a victory. Can we go higher? Yeah. We'll have to see what happens. Again, a lot of this depends on the China deal. Also, there's no issue in South America yet with weather.
Right.
It's crickets down there. If we ever start getting some sort of an issue, you may start to see that turn around. Compared to corn, beans have a much tighter carryout. So I think that if we're looking for a bull story for 2026, I think it's going to be up to soybeans to sort of be the atlas and hold us all up.
All right.
I would watch that, and hopefully, we can get this deal back where China comes back and buys what they usually buy,
right,
which is 1 billion bushels. That'll help calm things down.
It would help a lot. Now, cattle market, Chris, we've seen that in the headlines past 2 weeks. President Trump says beef is too expensive. Ranchers have to lower their prices. It's hurt the market, but this rally seems like it's going to continue.
Just as I came in, we were limit down yesterday, plus another $1. If you looked at the synthetics, we were $1 higher this morning. So despite the fact that we have to suffer through every tweet, 1 minute it's a good tweet, next minute it's a bad tweet, it makes it very, very difficult. We're having $10 swings regularly in feeders. This is a market which demands that you use options, in my opinion. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of volatility. I would say this. I look back to what happened in 2008 to 2014. We had a tremendous 8-year rally, and then what happened? We corrected, and it took about 2 years. We've had a good, amazing 5-year rally, all-time highs from 80 cents to where we are now. I don't want to be in a situation where 2 years from now we're like, we missed all that. So don't worry about getting the tippy top. You want to try and protect the meat of the move. So it's a great opportunity for producers to hedge. At the end of the day, it's going to take 2 years to rebuild this herd.
Yeah.
We've known that for a long time. But I think, again, take advantage of these prices, look for more volatility, and hope that we get to a point where the cash and the futures get a little bit closer together.
We'll be watching for that. Chris Robinson, Robinson Ag Marketing, thanks for joining us this week.
Thank you, sir.
Agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier now brings us his farm weather forecast for the week ahead.
Well, last week, Greg, you mentioned the atmospheric rivers taking aim at the Pacific Northwest. Do those come back this week?
They will with time, kind of ebbing and flowing. That's when we're going to kind of get a direct hit and a stream of weather systems out of the Gulf of Alaska, one after another, but a little bit of a drier spell to start briefly early on into the week, coming off significant moisture, especially across Washington State and points on southward. Downslope conditions and a pretty mild weather pattern into the Central Plains and a chill in the air. And we had some frost and freeze late last week in areas of the northern plains and the southeastern sections of the Corn Belt, all the way down into the Tennessee and Ohio valleys. Not unusual for this October calendar date, but getting ready to roll in through November. And a weather system offshore with some gusty winds into Washington State, Rogue River Basin, Willamette Valley, and the radars will begin to light up over the middle and late portions of the week as we move into 2 or 3 weather systems on the move. Also introducing some rain across areas of the northern plains, snow on the higher peaks of the Cascades. That's it. No Arctic air whatsoever in sight heading through this week and towards Halloween as well. Another big warm-up slated, by the way. Quite high pressure in control across the southwest. It's a seasonally active weather pattern, which means there's not much to speak of in the southwest this time of the year. The warm ridges here, valleys of California in great shape. Warmth over the central and southern plains, a stray rain shower and some gusty winds downslope into parts of Nebraska. As we move on through the late portions of the week, still building upper level high pressure. Desert southwest feeling like summertime. Milder back into the valleys of California. Harvest operations continue on there, and little, if any, organized precipitation on the maps and charts across the central and south end of the winter wheat belt. So all ahead forward on outdoor work.
Not a lot of crop left standing across the northern Corn Belt, Greg, but will harvest continue next week?
And fall cleanup and try to get those soil temperatures to come on down from the recent spell of warmth. And we've had a little nip in the air, of course, a couple of areas of freezing conditions over the upper Midwest, Great Lakes areas, and a little bit of frost down past the Ohio last week. Otherwise, here's a weather system on the move, but the tropics are getting active. Remember, when the Atlantic basin gets going, we've got Melissa down there, things come to a screeching halt. That's pretty much the story, is this weather system will bring some new rainfall across much of the Corn Belt. Enough cold air to tap into a little snow up into parts of northern Wisconsin, the North Woods and points on northward. Not unusual for late October. Back west of the Missouri, high pressure in control over there. Down here into the southern plains, we've got some welcome rainfall, the winding down that we had here the past few days of rainfall. Multi-inch over a wide area from the Ozarks back into Oklahoma and points on southward. Much needed in these dry, drought-ridden areas, and a bit of a cooler spell as well. Meanwhile, out across the desert southwest, warmth continues on with high pressure control. This weather system slowly moves out of the picture. Again, we've got Melissa coming up out of the Caribbean, so shower activity continues on still across the deep south and southeastern states later on into the week as well.
Any storm risk across the northeastern part of the country?
Don't think so. No Arctic air, no winter storms, or maybe a touch of snow in the air, perhaps into the upper lakes region later on into the week. But otherwise, cool high pressure, a little frostiness, and a brief freeze into the northeast of New England. Here's this weather system on the move out of the southeastern plains, far southern Corn Belt, and it will be slow to move. We've got the northern extent of tropical rains. It won't take really till the end part of the week before the rains finally get out of the Ohio Valley. But we're ahead of the game with outdoor work and harvest and fall cleanup and all that across many areas of the Corn Belt. So bring on the rain. We've seen some drought relief, by the way. The I-70 corridor on southward. This is the northern extent of maybe the outermost bands of Melissa. Probably not a major wind maker, but slow moving. Those Caribbean islands will have taken a lashing here since late last week here, and parts of Florida getting into heavy rainfall. Shower activity continues on across the Gulf Coast area. Cool high pressure across the mid-Atlantic region and parts of the Carolinas. But by the middle and late portions of the week, this is as far as Melissa will go, ultimately getting caught up in the jet stream pattern. Higher humidity, wind and rain up and down the southeastern part of the coastline. Shower activity, a couple of thunderstorms into areas of the Delta on eastward, with high pressure building back in across parts of Oklahoma and Texas. We'll take a look at that for week forecast, the outlook through a good part of the month of November. No real cold air in sight coming up later in the broadcast.
Closed captioning this week is brought to you by Farm Progress. Their team of experts reports on innovative solutions and essential information for your farm business. Visit farmprogress.com to stay updated. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Harvest might be wrapping up for most growers around the country, but during this harvest season, Fendt was out on the road showing farmers their new Ideal Combine. We had the chance to catch up with the Fendt Harvest Tour while it was in Minooka, Illinois, and we caught up with Tactical Marketing Manager Kevin Forth about the harvest.
So far on the Harvest Tour, it's been an absolutely great reception. We're doing something a little fun. We're taking the rig right out into the field. We're cooking lunch for the farmers and their crews, and just having a great time. We're doing obviously a demonstration with the Ideal Combine. Those are going great. We're side-by-side comparisons with their equipment in the field, and overall it's just been an absolutely great experience.
While farmers were inspecting the new combine, I asked Kevin what Fendt was looking for when they set out on this harvest tour.
What we're looking for on the Fendt Harvest Tour is to get farmer stories. We at Fendt, of course, we say farmer first is one of our core beliefs, and we really want to hear the struggles of the farmer, what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, how we can make our equipment fit their operations better, and really just want to hear their stories and get their feelings and how we can better serve the farmers in the future.
The idea for the Harvest Tour was that farmers who had been out combining the crop in their own combine could come and take a ride, do a harvest in the Fendt Ideal Combine, and get a feel for what was different. We talked with local farmer Alan Martin about why he was there at the Harvest Tour.
So with this demonstration, I'm looking forward to learning more about the fuel savings that the Fendt has, the grain sample, and any other technological things that Fendt might have that the competitors do not have.
I also asked Alan just how this year's harvest was shaping up as they wrapped up on their Illinois farm.
Harvest has actually went pretty smooth this year. There's been very little rain, and as we've progressed on, we've moved north, and the yields have been really good on the corn crop. On the soybean crop, we've been as low as 8% on moisture, which is yield robbing, but that's due to no rain.
And of course, the Fendt Harvest Tour wasn't the first time we've had to learn about Fendt so far this year. Our very own Max Armstrong had the chance to dig in with some of Fendt's offering at the Farm Progress Show, and that aired on the Best of Farm Progress. Max?
For many years, we've enjoyed presenting the Best of the Farm Progress Show. There's something special about the products that we bring to you, and we talk about the product lines, and we get to talk about Fendt with Nick Farfsing from Fendt North America. It's great to see you, sir.
It's great to be here.
You have plenty to talk about, don't you?
I sure do. So Fendt has been in North America for close to 30 years. It started with the Fendt 1000, which we'll talk more about here. And it grew from wheel tractors to track tractors to the Ideal Combine, the Momentum Planter, and the Fendt Rogator to really solve most of the big problems on the farm, to address all of the key areas of the crop cycle on the farm and solve a variety of different farmer challenges, whether it's efficiency, productivity, even comfort, and of course yield benefits.
I remember from back in the day that the CVT, the continuously variable transmission, was something that producers really embraced, and I'm sure they still do today.
It's been a game changer for us for sure, and it's a game changer for the industry, and it's set a new bar that frankly the competition has strived to meet, but have been unable to do so.
Share a little more about that product line where you're answering so many problems for growers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the tractor lineup that we have runs from about 100 horsepower all the way up to 670 or so horsepower with our track tractors, and the CVT brings a level of efficiency that, along with what we call Fendt ID, which is a low rev engine concept that gets max horsepower even at low engine RPMs, and that creates incredible efficiencies for the farm. It allows to get that max horsepower, so you have a consistent torque and consistent horsepower throughout the range.
Gold Star Customer Care. Share with me what that is all about and what you're bringing to the grower with that.
Yeah, so when I talk to our customers, when I talk to Fendt customers, they bring up a lot of things. They bring up productivity, efficiency, yield improvements, but one thing that is consistent, right? The one thing that all of them mention that they love about Fendt is Gold Star Customer Care. And what that is it's our 3-year factory warranty, no deductible, no strings attached. Included during that time is all of your maintenance, all of your service and inspections, as well as a loaner guarantee for our tractors and our combines. So if you go down, if we cannot get you back up in 48 hours, we will give you a loaner to make sure that you can keep running. So it is a truly exceptional customer experience that has been around since Fendt first came to North America, and we believe strongly in today. To add to that, something that we recently launched is 3 years of PTX Farm Engage as part of Gold Star. And what PTX Farm Engage is it is a next generation in mixed fleet farm management software. So what it is it's designed to take your data, whether it's on a Fendt machine or another brand of a machine. It could be a new machine, it could be an old machine, but it is the best in class at bringing that data together and allowing you to move it between platforms, not just within our platform as well. So for farms who want to have a variety of colors on their farm, who want to see the value in having an older machine that they might retrofit and add capabilities to, Farm Engage helps manage the data in that complex environment, and we're really the only provider of that solution today. And like I said, that comes with Fendt Gold Star.
Thank you, Max. It's been fantastic to watch this technology roll out at the Farm Progress Show and then have the chance to see it at work in the fields on the Fendt Harvest Tour. Well, folks, don't go away. When This Week in Agribusiness comes back, we'll have another conversation as a part of our Plan Smart, Grow Smart series from BASF.
Farm Progress Broadcast presents This Week in Agribusiness, serving America's most essential industry. Brought to you by Pioneer. Plant with confidence. Plant the #1 corn and soybean seed in the U.S. Pioneer.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to This Week in Agribusiness. Our own Max Armstrong has been working with our friends at BASF for a number of years on the Plan Smart, Grow Smart series. Recently, his travels took him up to Michigan to talk fungicide with a grower up there.
Some parts of the country, the disease pressure in corn is very prominent, noticeable, especially if it isn't taken care of. What do you see in this part of the world?
A couple of the things that we've been nervous about the last couple of years, one of them specifically was tar spot. Started down south, down the corn belt down there, and we've been looking, and they've been talking about that coming into mid-Michigan. It's here. It hasn't been to the point where it's been as severe as what they've seen down south, where we haven't lost a crop to it yet, but it has made us some management decisions with some of the fungicides that BASF has. We particularly use Veltima. With any disease, if you can keep it out of the area and keep that leaf or that inoculum out of your soil, that is an extremely useful tool if those products are there.
Some producers might look at a fungicide application as an emergency.
Yeah.
How do you look at it?
We don't. We never have. We have probably for the last 10 years or more. We include that as just part of our practice. You know, we make those decisions in the fall. We purchase those chemicals before we even plant our crop. So those decisions are mostly made to apply those products on an annual basis because we know, there's a benefit for that. We've seen almost every year, especially in the last couple, where fungicides at the very least always gets you your money back. It always returns your investment. So with more disease pressure that we're seeing in this area, I'd say even the smallest of margins, you can see a benefit by spraying those fungicides on almost all of our crops.
And the overall plant health has to be a thing to keep in mind too, right?
Yeah, a big thing here in the last couple of years in the state of Michigan has been wildfire smoke. I know we've had it's been the Canadian wildfire smoke. It's been in the news. We've talked about that and how that filters our sunlight and how that affects the health of the crop and how the corn crop finishes, how the moisture dries down. And I talked about sugar beets. You talk about that sunlight being filtered and how those leaves pull in that sunlight, that affects sugar content. So we can't afford to not have the healthiest plant going into September and October when that crop is finishing. So that's where the fungicides really play a factor in keeping that plant as healthy as we can right to the end of the crop season.
What goes into your decision making of which products, BASF products, you use?
So I think they've been known to really be involved greatly in the dry bean and sugar beet markets, which I told you is our specialty crop business and where we farm here. We've got great relationships with our folks at BASF, and being farm size that we have, we get maybe a little bit lucky when they release a new product or something that's going to be released shortly in the next year or so. Those folks would give us a call and say, hey, do you want to try a test plot? You guys want to do a little side-by-side with maybe a competitive product or product that we've been using in the past? So we'll split a field, and we'll take it right. We've had combines and we've got yield data that we can really good data for some of these products. So they'll introduce these new products to us, and if they're better, that's how they get onto our farm.
Thank you, Max. Folks, to see the full conversation with Jeff and the other interviewees on the Plant Smart Grow Smart series, visit PlantSmartGrowSmart.com.
Agriculture meteorologist Greg Solier returns now with his extended farm weather forecast for the country.
Well, Greg, towards the end of next week, trick-or-treaters will be out and about. Any chance for snow on Halloween?
No, I don't think so. Maybe in the uppermost areas, the Great Lakes region, that's it. Maybe some wet snowflakes, not anything regarding a cold wave weather pattern. No Arctic air, no winter storm in sight. People were slapping that GFS model out there on social media and saying, here we go. Not at all. Nothing like that. We will have an upper circulation for the next few weeks to deal with in this part of the country. We have maybe some flooding issues we'll have to keep an eye out for down through Florida, parts of the southeastern states with time. Look at the late week moisture into the upper lakes region. This is needed across the northeast of New England, and later on into the week, Mike, look at the moisture along the divide back on westward. 1, 2, maybe as much as 3 inches and heavy snow in the highest peaks of the mountains.
As we get to the week of November 3rd, Greg, temperatures still above average?
Yeah, with the exception of maybe the northeastern part of the country. This is not Arctic air. We've had some complications with an upper air system still slowly moving out of the western Atlantic, so mainly cloud cover issues here. Look at the warmth returning in November sunshine. It can still do its thing without any snow on the ground across the plains, back into areas of the Pacific West and Southwest where precipitation will be below average, active across the Northwest, and a rain snow system or two. Nothing to worry about from a livestock standpoint through the upper lakes region, the northern plains, and still some unsettled weather across the eastern states where, again, some of those tropical rains in the drought areas of the Northeast will be welcome.
What do you anticipate for the week of November 10th?
Still no Arctic air, no real cold air in sight, a bit below average for the Northeast to New England. No big surprise there. Warmth over the middle part of the country. Everyone else across the deep south and southeast looking at normal temperatures. Same with the Pacific Northwest with still an active jet stream pattern here. Look at the ridge of high pressure over the middle part of the country. Plenty of opportunities for outdoor work and getting cattle operations ready to go for the winter season. Still some wet weather over the Northeast and parts of the Mid-Atlantic region.
Any cool off by the time we get to November 17th?
Into the western states, and this probably begins the pattern shift here towards Thanksgiving and beyond. But until then, a little easing of the power bill and fuel consumption over the eastern part of the country. Can't complain about that. A few pennies back in your back pocket, below average over the western reaches of the country. And the moisture pattern continues on here. A pretty good swath of moisture from southwest to northeast, probably largely all rain. Any snow north of the Great Lakes areas. Normal precip over the southeastern states looks like probably not until Thanksgiving before things get a little more wintry, mainly over the northern and western reaches of the country.
This segment is sponsored by Brandt Industries. Lead the field with Brandt's lineup of versatile high-speed discs and achieve better results with every pass. Visit Brandt.ca for more. Harvest is wrapping up for many farmers across the country, which means meeting season will be here before we know it. And it kicks off in Monterey, California at the Organic Grower Summit. Joining me now is Matt Youngman. He's the National Events Director here at Farm Progress. And Matt, the Organic Grower Summit is quite an event, isn't it?
It is. This is our third time since we purchased the event, and it's wonderful to stretch our legs into a new industry, the organic industry. We've continued to improve it and make additions to it. We have a great advisory panel that's helped us with a lot of the content that we're going to have this year, and it's obviously focused there around Monterey and the salad bowl, but there's a lot going on that would be applicable for organic growers from around the country, or even those that might be interested in maybe taking a look at what the organic industry is about.
You know, I'm hearing more farmers talk about exploring diversification on their operation. And Matt, this seems like it might be a good fit for those folks. Where would you send them to learn what's going to be on the agenda and what all will be at the event?
Yeah, Mike Wilson's done a great job of putting together a wonderful agenda with the help of that advisory panel. OrganicGrowersSummit.com. It has all the information that you would need. You can register there, you can book your hotel, and get lined up for a visit to Monterey, which is a wonderful place to visit there in early December.
It is. Get out to that West Coast, California. Matt, you've been out to Monterey a couple of times. Is it worth a trip for somebody from the Midwest or East Coast?
Absolutely. It is a fantastic place to go. I highly advise coming, whether you just want to go and take a look at the Pacific Ocean, or if you're a golfer, Pebble Beach and Spyglass are right there. And Big Sur is just south. You can take a drive up and down that coast. It's an amazing place to visit. If you've never been, Monterey is just a wonderful place to go experience.
It is really picturesque, folks. Now, Matt, of course, OGS will be honoring growers from across the country this year as part of the Grower of the Year Awards. Can you give us some more detail?
Yeah, we're really excited about that. Here pretty soon, we're going to be announcing our top 4 finalists. We've gotten a lot of great support from John Deere on this project, as well as a lot of help from Western Growers Association. What I can tell you is that we have 4 fantastic finalists, and they are not just centrally located there to the Salinas Valley, but they're from around the country, and they're growing. Amongst all of them, they're growing a lot of different things. So a lot to learn from those folks as well.
There certainly will. Lots of technology to see on site. Matt, before we let you go, if we've got folks who want to come to the Organic Grower Summit on December 3rd and 4th, where would you send them to get registered or more information?
Go check out, get all your questions answered at OrganicGrowersSummit.com, and we look forward to welcoming you there in Monterey.
Matt Youngman, National Events Director with Farm Progress. Thanks so much for filling us in on OGS, and we look forward to seeing you in Monterey.
Thanks, Mike.
Now, on This Week in Agribusiness, it's Max's Tractor Shed, where we spotlight another great American farm tractor. They had their day in the sun, to be sure, doing some tillage on the farm with a corn picker perhaps running that, or a combine. These days, they're relegated to auger duty. I show you some again this weekend in a Max's Tractor Shed, brought to you by Lundell Plastics. If you're getting ready already for the 2026 season, producers, take a look at the product line of Lundell. What they can do to keep your machines running on into a new season. Go to their website, LundellPlastics.com. These machines run hour after hour, day after day, week after week, out there just humming along, putting that grain up into the grain bed. And some of these tractors have a little bit of age on them, or so it appears. Here's a John Deere in Indiana. Sean Ashby shared the photograph with us of this old John Deere. I can't tell if it's just a faded picture or there's a lot of dust on that Deere tractor in central Indiana. Here's a J.I. Case doing work in Michigan. Randy Vlietstra provided the photograph. That nighttime picture, not real clear because it's at night. I think that might be a Case 930. At Alger, Ohio, Paul Ralston has a John Deere 730 diesel. He says it doesn't get heavy use, but it always starts, and it's nice to load corn with it now and then and to use it to grade the driveway. In northern Illinois, Brad Kafode has an Alice Chalmers 190 that he uses. I understand that he also has on auger duty an old Oliver and an old John Deere tractor. Old machines proving they still can do the work. Mark Stock joins us here every weekend to brief us on what's selling at Big Iron. Mark, take it away.
Well, Max, we have an outstanding lineup of equipment selling this week on Big Iron. We start Tuesday, October the 28th with the Frank Cornelson Estate, equipment by Padden, Oklahoma. Frank's life was defined by integrity, service, and perseverance. Frank's wife and their 5 children will sell some of the nicest machinery, all stored indoors when not in use. The equipment is in excellent condition. On Wednesday, October the 29th, Fraser Oilfield Services, LLC, Lana Fraser lost her husband Caleb to an aggressive illness and now will sell her entire lineup of good quality construction-related equipment. When you purchase from this sale, you're not just buying equipment. Lana is using the proceeds to fund the Upper Room Mission, Inc., a nonprofit for providing youth and families with safe, enriching opportunities. Also on October the 29th is the Oak Harbor Freight Lines, Inc. semi-truck sale from Auburn, Washington and Portland, Oregon. 19 single-axle semi-truck tractors will sell with no reserve. And Max, please check out the over 280 tractors selling on the John and Marcia Kinzenbaugh's Farm Equipment, Trucks and Trailer Collector Sale taking place on Tuesday, November the 4th. Find all the details on these outstanding auctions on BigIron.com.
Our FFA Chapter Tribute is brought to you by Geringoff. Check out the new XFR 50 Draper with 3 times more flexibility than the closest competitor at Geringoff.com. Geringoff, proudly built in the American heartland. Well, this week we're getting to know the president of the Illinois State FFA, Natalie Pratt. Natalie graduated from the Amboy High School, and Natalie, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
So Amboy, Illinois in Lee County. Tell us a little bit about what agriculture's like where you grew up.
Absolutely. So Northern Illinois, we're about an hour and a half from the Wisconsin border. What you're going to see in Lee County is row crops. We got a lot of corn, soybeans, and Wiffles hybrid seed corn is grown a lot around the county that I'm from.
All right. So now you're representing all of Illinois FFA. And what are you looking forward to over this next year?
Obviously, the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is connecting with members. In Illinois Association FFA, we have over 48,000 Illinois agriculture education students. So being able to take every opportunity that I'm given to connect, learn a little bit more about their chapter and their story around the state has been incredible. And I'm looking forward to the next about 8 months of service that I have left to make sure that I'm connecting with as many members as possible.
Let's talk about that next 8 months of service. For those of us who have never served as a state officer, what's the living situation like for the Illinois state officer team?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty cool. We have a beautiful Illinois FFA center that's centered in Springfield, Illinois, so right around our state capital that we work out of. So Monday through Friday, you can usually find at least a couple of the state officers in and out of our office. We each have our own office space in the back of the Illinois FFA center that we just get to do a little bit of our work on. But of course, travel is huge. We are going all around the state of Illinois as well as the country. We spend time in Indianapolis, Washington, D.C., and traveling to other states conventions to learn a little bit more about their state association. But Monday through Friday, you can usually find us in Springfield at the Illinois FFA Center or in our hotel where we live at Monday through Friday.
It is hard work to represent the FFA. Natalie Pratt, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Well, there's technology out there rolling in farmers' fields for harvest, so Chad Colby has gone out to find it. He joins us now from Central Illinois, where he's had a chance to tour one of the biggest and one of the newest combines to be released for this harvest season.
Well, fall here in Central Illinois, I had a minute to catch up with Michael Schmidt from Central Illinois Ag. Michael, this is the best office ever inside a brand new AF10 combine. What's the customer's reaction been this year showing guys this new machine?
Holy cow, this thing will eat corn. And then when we ran a couple weeks ago, we had our other demo machine, and we were in beans, and we actually had the customer tell us we had to slow down. He wasn't comfortable driving that fast. Wow. So, and now, that's not to say that we need to drive super fast all the time, but like we're running 6,400 bushels an hour right now at about 5.5 miles an hour. And auger parts are moving, trucks are moving. We're trying to be as efficient as possible out here today doing that. One of the things that we keep coming back to, even last year when it was first debuted to today, is the quality of the grain sample. It goes without saying that this is unlike anything we've really experienced before. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the camera's catching the back window here, but there is not a stitch of cob in this thing, and I don't know how to put it in it. The cubes are as tight as I've ever run them. We don't touch them. All we've done is adjust the concave clearance. Very simple to operate. Everybody's been impressed about how quickly we can get going in the morning and the job we do. Rotor's longer. Obviously, it's got more cleaning capacity in the sieves as well, too. Yes. Well, I think you and I have we've talked about this before. It's just neat to see the progression. This is a generational combine. And the biggest thing I think we can tell everyone is there's still time yet this year. Get to your local dealer and go experience this combine because trust me, it's nothing like you've ever experienced before. For This Week in Agribusiness, I'm Chad Colby.
Thank you, Chad, for the opportunity to ride along in that AF10 combine. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll have more about this year's harvest when This Week in Agribusiness returns. With harvest underway, farmers are able to take a look at the decisions they made earlier this season. Joining us now is one farmer who's getting to take a peek at those decisions. Rock Kachnik joins us now. He's a farmer from outside Prophetstown, Illinois. Rock, thanks for joining us.
Mike, great to visit with you again. Very exciting harvest this fall. Good yields, dry moisture. It's really pleasant to harvest under these conditions, and we're really happy what we're finding in the fields with the Vorseed trait. We're finding very exciting yields. You know, we went through a really dry August, and we were kind of concerned what we were going to find, but I guess we're kind of actually shocked in the better soils. The protection aspect from the Vorseed, we've got better traits above ground, plant below ground, insects. And the flexibility of the herbicide we can use with that Vorseed trait to keep our fields clean. As we go through the field now with the combine and look down and they're spotless, it's rewarding to see that herbicide worked and we don't have weed issues there in a field like we had many years ago. The genetic performance and engineering that we've seen from Corteva Pioneer is just phenomenal compared to the early years, 30, 40 years ago. We're seeing an increase in yield, and protection is just phenomenal. What improvement we've made.
That's what we want to see. And Rock, this was an odd season to get started. You mentioned the flexibility that Vorseed provided you. Did you have some missed applications, some changes to your application schedule this year?
Well, we have a lot of marginal variable soils here, and you have to scout in different, we'll have different weed issues, different fields depending on moisture. And it gives you such flexibility when you can use that enlist trait to go in and clean up some of those hard to kill weeds. That is very valuable to have that in our arsenal.
Rock, southern rust has been on the tip of every farmer's tongue across the Corn Belt this year. Was that a challenge on your operation, and how did that Vorseed corn fare?
Believe it or not, we sprayed a lot of our acres with fungicide, possibly not the acres we were going to harvest. We were going to harvest early, shorter season varieties. But we are very impressed with the plant health and the leaf tissue on some of these plants compared to the old days. The genetic engineering in there to protect these plants is phenomenal, and the fungicide has definitely paid off, as everyone is finding this year without a doubt.
Absolutely. Rock, if we've got audience members out there that are looking at Vorseed corn next year, what would you tell them?
Definitely worth looking at, and there's some of those hybrids are really sticking out, and I'm sure the yield results will prove that, and they'll see that in the trials.
Rock, well, we wish you the best of luck finishing up your harvest there on your operation, and thanks for joining us this week.
Great to visit with you again, Mike.
It's always a treat to see Rock out at farm events. Thank you for joining us here today. Be sure to catch us next time, right here for This Week in Agribusiness. Have a great week, everybody. This Week in Agribusiness is recorded in the Strauss Studio. Family owned since 1948 and trusted by pros worldwide, Strauss makes gear that works as hard as you do. Tough, functional, and resilient. This isn't just workwear, it's gear engineered to perform. Gear up now at Strauss.com.
This Week in Agribusiness is produced by 22 Creative Group and has been a presentation of Farm Progress Broadcast. We invite you to visit us online at agbizweek.com.